What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Kate Bush, and we're returning to Ariel 2005, and we're going to listen to a 2-for-1 because the next track, which is called Prelude, I noticed is very short, and the tune after that has a similar sort of title, Prologue. Now, Prelude is a term typically used in music context. I immediately think of the Prelude to Bach's Cello Suite. Prologue is typically used in narrative forms, literature, fictional novels, maybe more than any other context. But yes, they're both terms which suggest the beginning of something or even the pre-beginning of something, something which is the essential context for something that comes later. So given that I noticed Prelude is a very short track, and given that they both seem to have a related theme to the phrasing of the title, I figure we'll do a 2-for-1 and then move on to essentially the second side of the record more formally next time. So yes, again, both tracks suggest the instantiation of something to follow, but it's interesting to follow a track named Prelude with a track named Prologue. So let's give it a listen, or them a listen. This is Kate Bush, the track is Prelude, which will be followed by Prologue, and they're both from her 2005 album Ariel.
Mommy? Daddy? The day is full of birds. Sounds like they're saying a word.
Deep and rich piano chords.
We're gonna be laughing about this. We're gonna be dancing around. It's gonna be so good now. It's gonna be so good. Oh, so excited. be so good. Can you see the lark ascending?
The Vaughan Williams piece?
Oh, so romantic. Swept me off my feet. Like some kind of magic. Like the light in Italy. Lost its way across the sea. Roma, Roma, Rio. Tis a Romeo, bella, cielo mio, pieno di sole e luce. Belli così, bene, bene. Pianissimo, pianissimo. What a lovely afternoon. What a lovely afternoon. Oh, will you come with us to find the song, the oil and the brush?
What a fascinating pair of tunes. So, the second track was more formally a song than Prelude, though I have to say, in Prologue, she said, "What a lovely afternoon." And, I mentioned the Prelude to Bach's Cello Suite, I think of the Prelude to the Czech Suite by Dvorak, but I'm also thinking of Prelude to An Afternoon of a Faun, because she mentioned an afternoon specifically. But yes, so we have bird sounds, bird song in both of these tracks. In Prelude, we have like sparrows, but also an owl type sound. And I say owl type sound because if it was a true owl sound, it seemed to be manipulated in a way that it was rhythmic and melodic, like it was a melodic and rhythmic layer in the track, even if the track was not formally a song, at least not in a more traditional sense, whereas Prologue was definitely a full song. So I was already intrigued by the owl sounds in Prelude, and then the lighter bird sounds led us straight into Prologue. She eventually mentioned something about like across the sea, and we hear seagulls. So I don't know the connecting thread of the bird sounds throughout these two tracks and maybe beyond, because it sounded like the bird sounds right at the end there were going to continue into the next track, which I get it. There's a lot of Kate Bush fans who've pointed out that, there's different albums of hers that really need to be heard in succession. I get that. It's just the way I do reactions, and, the time that I allot to individual videos, it doesn't lend itself to doing like hour-long videos. So, in any case, I will be back for the next tune, and if I can remember when I do that, I will try to, back it up to the last few seconds of the prologue here. Nevertheless, the point is, there clearly was some motif with not only atmospheric sounds of nature, but particularly with birds, and maybe different types of birds in different thematic or lyrical context. She was talking a lot in Prologue about things that happen in the future, which makes sense. A prologue, it's the story before the main story, in the same way that epilogue is the follow-up story after the main story. But she's talking about, like, we're going to laugh about this. It's going to be so great. So it seemed, and there was a line about, like, when you come back to us, or when you leave us. I forget which form it took. But there were, again, multiple lines referencing future events, like hypothetical, theoretical future events, as distinct from the current situation now. So I do wonder, and in fact, it's funny, like, we're going to laugh at this, or we're going to laugh. It's almost like forward-looking, but then retrospective as it's forward-looking, because you're talking about what's happening right now, but you're indicating what you think your emotional and or behavioral response will be to what's happening now in the future. So there's a bit of a blending of timescales in a single line like that. So, I don't know, it sounds intimately personal, familial maybe, something about, a father and him coming or going. I think it was like when you leave us. And so that's not necessarily indicating a father, and us is a bit ambiguous there. But it sounds like part of a larger group is being separated, maybe both conceptually and physically, or even geographically, but in a future time, but you're talking about what you think that will mean now. So, as I said, it seems like the terms Prelude and Prologue were perfectly chosen. I just don't quite know the essence of the story, though, again, talking about it's going to be a great thing and we're going to laugh at some point in the future, maybe suggest it's not either of those things now. It's not great now and you're not laughing now. So whether that's projection in a genuine prediction sense, or projection in that you're trying to believe something will be better than it is currently. So you're telling yourself, one day we're going to look back and laugh on this, which is what you say when you're going through some arduous struggle or some ridiculous circumstance that may not be so funny in the moment. So, yeah, ultimately her vocal performance, very nice. I was actually thinking during this track, or prologue I should say, the second track, that, she sounds remarkably similar to the Kate Bush of the late 70s, early 80s. Maybe not identically, maybe people who've known her music for a very long time. There's moments where you can clearly hear that her voice is a bit older. She certainly doesn't sound as high-pitched as some of the very earliest stuff when I believe she was a teenager, but her vocal consistency at this point now, like 2.5 or almost 3 decades after her first album, it's really stunning. So again, great vocal work by her. I do like the rich, deep piano chords, but also there were some like quick trilling sort of lines that were little melodic flourishes, for lack of a better word or phrase. So yeah, it was a very intricately composed piece. It wasn't, just a simple catchy piano line that just repeats and, goes up and down at predictable moments. It was more of a idiosyncratic composition, but I think it worked really well. And again, anytime you can blend genuine, like natural instruments with natural and indeed nature type sounds and make it seem like it's a perfect fit, then I think you've done a good job of arranging and composing. So really curious to hear what people have to say about this. Shout out to the folks for waiting for a regular Kate reaction. I did actually do a holiday Kate reaction. I'm sure many of you saw it, but in case you didn't, I did a reaction. What was it? Home for Christmas? So yes, ultimately, I know the regular Kate reactions have had to wait a little while. I do appreciate that. I took a sort of, holiday music break for a few weeks, but we are back, so I will return to the next track as soon as I can. Luca, the horizontal cat, was very intrigued Let me see what the next track is while I have the folder open. The next tune in the playlist is An Architect's Dream. I really do enjoy that title, which again speaks to something that has not yet been manifested yet, but which is being planned or discussed in advance. It is a hypothetical, so that seems to follow quite nicely off of the apparent themes of the two tracks we just heard. So, in any case, let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.